Big boys up front who get after the quarterback, Saints defensive ends. We're talking about the Mount Rushmore, the 4 best to ever do it in the black and gold. Let's go. All right, so let's get the most obvious one out of the way. The first guy to make the Mount Rushmore for the Saints defensive ends all time is the greatest sack artist in the history of the New Orleans Saints, number 94, Cam Jordan. So as of the time of making this video, Cam Jordan is still an active player. He is the Saints all-time leading sack artist. He is a obvious no-brainer when it comes to this list. Best defensive end in Saints history. Borderline, well, actually, to me, he's already a Hall of Famer, but if he needs to stick it out for another year and pump out a few more sacks, Cam Jordan is the guy that, he'll pump those numbers up a little bit more, especially if he's in some kind of rotation at this point, stays fresh. He can get after it from inside or outside. Great at blocking passes. Great against the run when he needs to be. He can get wide. He can go through you. Cam Jordan, far and away, best defensive end in the history of the New Orleans Saints. Our second defensive end to make the Mount Rushmore for the New Orleans Saints is somebody I would consider criminally underrated, despite having 82.5 sacks, Wayne Martin. Now, with Wayne Martin, I mentioned the 82.5 sacks that he had. 11 seasons, all with the Saints. From 89 to 99, he was second-team All-Pro. He's been a Pro Bowler. He's the first of the 3 remaining defensive ends that are in the Saints Hall of Fame. He was an All-American. He was a Conference Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff before he even got to the NFL, and then he just tore up the NFL once he got there. Again, Wayne Martin, super underrated when you talk about the great defensive players in Saints history. Certainly belongs on this list. Now, I don't think we can have a Mount Rushmore of Saints defensive ends without including at least one of the guys from the 2009 Super Bowl championship season. That being said, the big man, number 91, rest in peace, Will Smith. 67.5 sacks for Will Smith over the course of 9 seasons. Let's see. He had a couple of them that were double digits, including 13 sacks in 2009. He was also obviously a Saints captain and a Super Bowl champion in that 2009 season. Pro Bowler. He's led the NFL in forced fumbles. He was on the all-rookie team in 2004. He's Saints Hall of Famer, Saints Ring of Honor member. There's really not much you can't say about Will Smith. He was obviously a clear leader on that 2009 team and a lot of the teams that he was a part of. And in speaking with, in some of the work that I've done through Canal Street Chronicles, in speaking with a lot of people about Will Smith, he was a professional, great guy to be around, great locker room guy, a funny, playful kind of, fun-loving kind of guy, in the locker room, but obviously a super intense leader on the field. Will Smith obviously belongs to be, Now, before we get to the fourth and final guy to make the Mount Rushmore for Saints defensive ends, let's talk about some honorable mention, because there is a handful of guys that I think deserve to be mentioned in the video, despite not making my personal Mount Rushmore for Saints defensive ends. So let's talk about some of those guys that I've got kind of sitting on the fringe as far as they could have been the fourth. A lot of this is debatable. This is up for opinion. So that being said, here are the list of guys that I've got here. Darren Howard is one. One of the better edge guys in the early 2000s. Ronaldo Turnbull, I mean, super explosive. Not a ton of time with the Saints, but super explosive when he was there. Charles Grant, the other guy on the side of Will Smith, super just tough defensive end. Frank Warren, another guy that certainly could have made the list. Super versatile, super long career. Just a steady presence as a defensive end. Trey Hendrickson, obviously, we know what happened with him. We kind of saw what he could be the very last season that he was with the Saints with 13.5 sacks. He's since obviously gone on to Cincinnati and is putting together his own Hall of Fame career. Bobby McCray, I like mentioning him just because of some of the hits and how fun he was to watch on the field. And then, hate him or love him, Junior Gillette, for the time he was here, he was a menace on that defensive line. So I've got to include him at least in the honorable mentions. Let me know if I missed anybody that you would include in the honorable mentions, or if there's somebody you would have put on the Mount Rushmore itself that I haven't mentioned. But let's get on with the fourth and final guy. Now, the fourth and final guy, my fourth and final guy on the Saints defensive end, Mount Rushmore, Joe Johnson. I picked Joe Johnson to be the fourth member of this list. He doesn't have quite the length of career as some of the other guys. He only played in New Orleans for 8 seasons. Again, in 1999, he missed the entire season with a knee injury. So 7 full seasons he played with the Saints. But in the 7 seasons that he played there, outside of his rookie year, he was definitely an impactful player. I mentioned in 1999, he had that knee injury. He was out for the entire year. NFL 2000 Comeback Player of the Year. He won that. In that same year in 2000, he was a first-team All-Pro. He was twice a Pro Bowler. He was a member of the rookie team. Obviously, the All-Rookie team. He was, he's been inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame. Again, one of those guys that when he was out there, once he got his feet under himself after his rookie season, made a lot of impacts on the field. 52.5 career sacks, so certainly nothing to turn your nose up at. Joe Johnson is my fourth guy. And I'd love to know who you have in your Mount Rushmore for Saints defensive ends. Thank you so much for sticking this one out. Don't forget to subscribe. Who dat, everybody?